Thank you. Minister, as you're aware from your recent visit to Bantry after the flooding in December, this continues to be an ever-present risk for businesses and homes. The town has been flooded 4 times in the last 18 months. What is the update on the scheme, and can you outline the interim defences which are going to be made available? Thank you.
Thanks, Leslie. I visited Bantry following the recent flood events, including last month following the flooding of 28 properties during Storm Barra, and I've seen again at first hand the devastation that flooding caused to homeowners, businesses and the wider community in Bantry. The Flood Risk Management Plan launched in May of 2018, including recommendation to progress the design, planning and construction of a flood relief scheme for the town of Bantry. A steering group comprising of representatives from the Office of Public Works and Cork County Council is in place and is progressing the scheme to protect some 198 properties. During 2021, Cork County Council, in partnership with the Office of Public Works, issued the tender documentation for the procurement of engineering and environmental consultants to design a viable scheme for the town. An assessment of all tenders has now been completed by Cork County Council, and I expect the consultants will be appointed in the coming weeks. Once appointed, consultation with statutory and non-statutory bodies, as well as with the wider public community, will be able to take place within the appropriate stages to ensure that all parties have the opportunity to input into the development of this important scheme for the town. In the meanwhile, Cork County Council has engaged a contractor to treat some of the invasive species in preparation for the flood relief scheme. The Bantry Flood Relief Scheme is being funded out of my department's €1.3 billion fund for flood risk management allocated by the government under the National Development Plan up to 2030. In tandem with progressing the scheme, Cork County Council is preparing the consultant brief that is expected to issue in the first quarter of the year to carry out the repair and reconstruction of the culvert which runs under the main street of the town. This culvert has been identified as a significant element contributing to the flooding on the main street of the town, at New Street and north and south of Woltone Square in recent months. The Office of Public Works and Cork County Council are liaising on the integration of these works with the flood relief scheme for the town. In 2021, my office and the Office of Public Works approved some €180,000 under the minor flood mitigation works and coastal protection scheme for interim works to mitigate flooding in Bantry, including the installation of non-return valves, provision of mobile pumps, and the Council has now identified a preferred contractor for these works, and insurances are currently being finalised to confirm their appointment.
Thank you, Minister, for your update and for your recent visit. Progress on the scheme is always so welcome. But I think you'll also appreciate that residents and proprietors are anxious to know when they'll start to see kind of physical work starting on the ground. All flood events can have a large impact on households and businesses, from damage to structures and destroyed stock. There's also a social effect that can be very demoralising for communities. The risk of repeated flooding only increases these negative results. Bantry is an amazing town with a thriving commercial and tourism sector. The Friday market attracts people from all over West Cork and beyond. So the flood relief scheme will bring a kind of much needed certainty that will see the town go from strength to strength. And as you know, and we all know from the December flooding, the remedial flood relief works carried out by Cork County Council did really prevent further flooding in some parts of Bantry. So additional funding for remedial measures would make a very big difference, and a kind of timeline for when these things will take place would be great. Thanks, Minister.
Thanks, Les Council. Well, there's 2 elements to the scheme. One is the culvert, which runs through the centre of the town, and one then is the flooding that happens from the harbour itself, which is part of the wider Bantry Flood Relief Scheme. And meeting the officials of Cork County Council and of the Office of Public Works, it's very evident that the culvert element of it, Cork County Council are progressing the design of that through their own engineering and consultative support, and we will obviously assist in that. The other element of it, I suppose the formal process is now initiating in the first quarter of this year, and we hope that will happen in the next fortnight or 3 weeks, once we get the statutory process started. And meeting with the local representatives, when I did just before Christmas, together with some of the local community that came out on the square on the day, it is very evident to them that they understand that this is part of a planning process. We can't make it go any faster than it can, because we are tied into a process, and to do anything that will subvert that or in any way try and usurp that will obviously land us in trouble. So that I can't do anything that will in any way interfere with that process.
Thanks, Minister. Bantry is just one of several West Cork towns with flood defences in progress, and you recently marked the official completion of the Clonakilty scheme, which was fantastic, and it's already making a big difference to the community there. However, in response to my parliamentary questions, you noted that both Skibbereen and Bandon schemes are substantially completed rather than completed, and this distinction has a huge impact on homes and businesses in things like seeking insurance and mortgages. So I'm wondering, when will you be coming to Skibbereen and Bandon to officially mark those schemes completed as well as Clonakilty? Thank you.
Yeah, well, the Clonakilty scheme is completed and has been handed over to Cork County Council, and Skibbereen and Bandon have been more or less completed, and I suppose the true test of the pudding is in the eating. And as somebody who knows the town of Bandon intimately well, the fact that I can say that in Starnbarrow the town didn't flood, and my brother's pub didn't flood during that most recent event, given the fact that it flooded almost in every previous event, shows that the investment by the Office of Public Works through Cork County Council was a good investment for that town, because the scourge of flooding in that town, together with Skibbereen, Clonakilty, and hopefully now that we can get the Bantry one up and running as well. And I want to pay a testament to the volunteers, the outside staff of Cork County Council, our own outside staff, the volunteers, the local communities who have been very resilient, not only in the West Cork towns, but all of the other towns as well that have had the scourge of flooding. We want to get on with this, but it will only be as good as the local representatives, who we hope will row in behind it. And obviously we would hope that it doesn't get bogged down in delays, and we want to try and do for Bantry what we have done for Bandon, Clonakilty and Skibbereen and the other Cork towns as well.